Okay, I'm gonna reread it so I sound smart.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to What the Hell Should I Watch? I'm Steve Stebbing,
And I'm Chloe Stebbing.
and we are the weekly list of what we're watching, which may become what you're watching. And we come at you every Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time on stevestebbing.ca. And I teased it last week. Big one, big one this week. Like highly anticipated. We may have been waiting for this movie, well, since the first film in this franchise. But let's get fresh. Fresh for your eyeballs this week. Vancouver's own Ryan Reynolds got his dream come true. And a few other dreams came true in the process. I will not get spoilery though, but this is Deadpool and Wolverine.
Deadpool is offered a place in the Marvel Cinematic Universe by the Time Variance Authority, but instead recruits a variant of Wolverine to save his universe from extinction, starring Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, directed by Sean Levy.
And I mean, ever since the first Deadpool came out, they've been teasing a team up of Deadpool and Wolverine that with the first two movies were like a reality that we didn't think could happen. And I think like after the second one, Logan was dead because the movie Logan, he
hmm
dies at the end, which is an incredible film. And even with Deadpool and Wolverine, still exists as an incredible film. It's not erasing anything, although there is a tie-in right in the beginning that maybe, I don't know, takes a little of the luster off of it, maybe in a playful way. um I'm gonna really stick to being non-spoilery because when as this episode is out, we're still just a week after opening, a week and a day after opening. So I the and honestly, all the spoilers are, if you're on the internet, are right out there. Like if you type in Deadpool, you're going to get spoiled. So if you haven't seen it yet, avoid the internet until you have, if you have really an interest in this one. But this is finally the team up for Wolverine and Deadpool, for Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, who are two obvious good friends in real life. Um I Without being spoilery, you'll never hear NSYNC's Bye 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 the same way again. It is really well done. There are, as guest, so many cameos in it. And just this movie's fun. Like it's over 2 hours and it's fun from start to finish. Did $211 million in its opening weekend, which is the highest grossing for any R-rated film. So
Wow.
to to think that this is the end, like they say, it's Ryan Reynolds and Sean Levy and Hugh Jackman are celebrating it like it is the culmination of a long history, because in a lot of ways it is, because this is Ryan Reynolds and Sean Levy basically being able to play with the entire IP toy box that Disney has now, with Fox and everything in the mix. So they really do their best to utilize that in a great way, and I thought it was a lot of fun. Um, but it's just a wild, fun time in theaters, and I think that people should see it. And obviously, people really are seeing it. This could be like one of the movies that is going to elevate theaters a lot, which is a place that's sadly been struggling since the pandemic. Um,
hmm
and no spoilers here, but there's a line I really love that Deadpool says in it to a character, and I won't give it who, but says, "Welcome to the MCU. Sorry, it's at a low point." And I just I thought that was,
That's
it's
great.
very knowing. There's a lot of
Yeah.
like, the fourth wall breaks are very knowing. It's very in with the audience, and I, you know, clearly and obviously I dig this movie. Are you going to see it?
I probably am gonna see it. I don't know when. It is something that I'm interested in, and a few of my friends have seen it, and they said that it's phenomenal. So,
Yeah, it's really well done. It's a lot of fun, and it's a the rewatch value of all 3 movies is so crazy. Like, I could
mhm.
watch all 3 movies again and again. They're a lot of fun. All right, let's move on to, oh, you're gonna have fun with the names on this one. Let's move on to Kneecap.
When fate brings Belfast teacher JJ into the orbit of self confessed lowlife scum, Nawis and Liam Ogg, the needle drops on a hip hop act like no other. Rapping in their native Irish, they lead a movement to save their mother tongue. Starring Moglai Bap, Mo Chara, DJ Provi, and Michael Fassbender. Written and directed by Rich Pepiat.
This movie, I'm a sucker for a music-driven film, and Kneecap is fully music driven because it's basically through circumstance, this school teacher comes across these two brothers that are lyricists in their native Irish tongue, which is a crazy sounding language. It's just a very wild sounding language, and end up coming together to make this you know, two MCs and a DJ kind of trio that comes at a time where they're really trying to squash the original Irish language, trying to make it go away. So they were elevating it, also because it has, it also, I believe, has, and I might be paraphrasing here, some deep IRA ties to it. As a way for the IRA to kind of communicate with each other, but it's one of the things that they pride themselves on as part of the origins of their country. So there is a lot of socio politics within this, and also with this band being the media trying to squash them and silence them and everything. So, but I was like, these kids are really interesting in this, and I really like this dynamic. And then at the end of the movie, find out this the Kneecap's real. This is a real band. They're an absolutely true group. This is very much a true story. That is their actual names and everything. There's a song that plays in it. It's abbreviated. It's called Hood. That it's now on my Spotify list. Like, I really, really dig this track. And I don't know, these guys got really good beats and good raps, even if I don't even fully understand a lot of it, because they do pepper in English here and there. It's with a heavy
Mhm.
Irish accent as well. And it's like so in between that sometimes you miss them. But yeah, I really, really dug this movie. The director, Rich Pepiat, he constructs like a really fresh and original feeling film that feels like unlike anything that we've seen before in kind of biopic nature. There's a lot of like kind of sketchbook writing over top of it, of the screen and stuff, that I thought was really interesting as well. And I'm a sucker for British Isles or Ireland or a Scottish movie, so it kind of wins out there. And Michael Fassbender is just an absolute movie god. Every time he's on screen, he's just so interesting all the time. He's probably one of my favorite actors of all time. Clearly, he kills this movie. He plays the boy's dad, who was in the IRA that faked his death, and he's just so great. And it's part of like movies that are never going to get kind of like a wide mainstream eye on it. So also the fact that, I mean, a large part of it is subtitled as well would turn
Mhm.
people off, but I really dug it, and I think people should see it. Let's look at what's available on your home disc. That's right, on the blue this week. The first one, I've had it for a few weeks now, but it just celebrated its 40th anniversary. This is the 4K. It's Purple Rain.
A young musician, tormented by an abusive situation at home, must contend with a rival singer, a burgeoning romance, and his own dissatisfied band as his star begins to rise. Starring Prince, Apollina Cotero, and Morris Day, written and directed by Albert Magnoli.
And that's Morris Day and the Time. Morris Day and Jerome. Who Morris Day and Jerome like steal this movie. They're so great. They're so sleazy. They're like musician club owners and stuff, and they're just they play the sleaze well, but this is largely a musical movie. This is a film that was made for Prince. Um, and it's a movie I'd honestly never seen before, but the whole time I was watching this, I kept thinking about Batman from 1989, which Prince did all the music for, which is just 3 years later. But that he got his theatrical moment years before. So I think that's kind of interesting. His character, the kid, is completely unlikable. He is just like a he's just like obviously they make him that he's formulated by his surroundings. He comes from an abusive home, and has this all of a sudden shoved into the spotlight with this massive talent, and then he's got this massive ego because he's the head of the revolution and everything. But he's just basically a dick most of the movie, and then has like this like really hilarious, in my opinion, really hilarious montage during When Doves Cry, where he's like looking tough by like pawns and stuff on his motorcycle and everything with like a wide stance. And it's Prince. You know what Prince looks like, right? It's
Yeah.
it's Prince. But he seems to have his entire redemptive and I'm gonna be better to everybody moment when he's playing Purple Rain at the end in like the climax of the movie. And I'm like, I get that this movie is like largely metaphorical and heightened and everything, but that's not enough for a redemption, man. You can't just be like, because like his bandmates are coming up to him with their music and being like, "Hey, can you listen to my music? Maybe we should incorporate it into our stuff." And he like refuses to listen to it,
Oh
right?
my
And
god.
at one point they're having a rehearsal and stuff, and he's like, "I don't want to get through to you. I'm not going to listen to your stupid music." Like you're a dick. What's the matter with you? But like during Purple Rain, he like walks up to the one of the guitar players and like kisses them on the cheek, so like everything's fine now. Like you're gonna be receptive to their ideas. I don't know if I got that idea from it, but like I don't know. There's just not enough to me, and I get it. It's not supposed to be deep, but I was like,
Mhm.
hey, you're still a dick. Also, I mean, I have to mention like that Prince was an immense talent, and you can see how phenomenal of a stage presence he had. Um, he's also a really great guitar player, and he's doing all this dance choreography and everything, and like upholding the persona. And I mean, I could tell why he was such an icon and why people were
Mhm.
all about Prince. Though I'm obviously late to Purple Rain by 40 years. And now that he's been dead for I don't know, like 10 years or something like that. But Morris Day and the Time Rule, and there's a Kevin Smith reference in there somewhere because Morris Day and the Time were in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. But yeah, Purple Rain on 4K. Yeah, I'm glad I watched it. We'll say that. All right. Digging through my Criterion collection again. And I watched Pan's Labyrinth.
In the Falangist Spain of 1944, the bookish young stepdaughter of a sadistic army officer escapes into an eerie but captivating fantasy world. Written and directed by Guillermo del Toro.
And yeah, I saw this movie in theaters. I watched it again when it hit DVD because I was working. I believe I was working at the video store at the time, so I watched it again. But I haven't watched it since. And now I bought myself the Blu-ray of it and watched it. And this movie is still incredible. Still like a beautifully told story of fantasy within such a harsh time in Spain. And I mean, there is a reason why Guillermo del Toro is always on my list of favorite directors. And it's
Hmm.
because his vision is so singularly his. Like you can
Yeah.
tell a Del Toro movie when you're watching it. And this is also the finisher on a trilogy of films that's kind of started off his career, was like the kind of define the first part of his career, which is Kronos, The Devil's Backbone, and then this film, all Spanish language films. Um, and there is a hopefulness in Pans that doesn't really appear in those other two films. Even though, I mean, spoilers, but this film's been out for 20 years. So, I mean, um, our main character dies at the end. She gets gut shot and
Yeah.
dies, bleeds out and dies. But in her reality, she ascends to being the
Mhm.
princess that the fawn told her she was. So it
Yeah.
is a hopeful, beautiful kind of ending, but it still does kind of go out on crying and death and blood,
On a
So
child getting shot in the stomach and bleeding
yeah,
out and dying.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still wild, like, just wild. And Sergey Lopez, is brilliant and terrifying and such a good depiction of a human monster. 2 grandiose levels of, like, like, a monster, but he's, still a human being. Very much human when he gets shot in the head at the end, which is a crazy special effect because they shoot him under the cheek and then his eye sinks and like rolls up in his head and then he falls over. It's such a
Yeah.
crazy shot. Clearly some of the CGI pales in this movie. Um, but the practical effects are amazing. Doug Jones playing the fawn and as well as the dinner table monster with the eyeballs and the
Yeah.
hands. Incredible. It's
Yeah.
incredible, and that never diminishes anytime you watch that movie. That look, that incredible detail never fades. And I think Pan's Labyrinth is still a complete technical achievement just based on these things alone. And the way that Del Toro moves a camera with his story is like opera. It's just
Yeah.
beautiful stuff, beautiful stuff. So I highly recommend the Criterion edition. It has been out for a while. I think close to a year it's been out. You can also buy it as part of the Del Toro trilogy with Devil's Backbone and Chronos, but highly recommend it if you haven't already. I feel like a lot of movie lovers that are into Criterion probably already bought it.
Sort of off topic, but it's still Guillermo. I
Mhm.
really want him to do more Cabinet of Curiosities.
Yes, that's such a good series.
And I think the final episode when Andrew Lincoln showed up, I was like, "Okay, like
Well,
more, 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 more."
that's an easy win for you. Andrew
Yeah,
Lincoln showing up, that's like, all right. Speaking of which, just saw the trailer dropped for Daryl Dixon season 2, which finally is bringing Melissa McBride back into it because I guess she wasn't
yeah.
in the first half of the first season at all.
No, she was supposed to be, but then she was like, "Nah, I'm gonna go do some other shit." So
Yeah,
she
fair
wasn't.
enough. Fair enough. It's all about pairing people for spin-offs. These spin-offs is
Yeah,
all about pairing people. Like, who do we
yeah.
pair? That's just like the only way that they can figure out how to do spin-offs is like, what 2 characters can we have live on together?
And it's kind of upsetting because it kind of implies that they don't believe that any one character is good enough
Is
to
strong
stand on
enough.
their own.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Pretty much. The only way a character works is if there's somebody else to prop it up.
Especially a male female duo.
No
They're all
female could
male
stand
female
on their
duos.
yeah, no female could stand on her own.
No.
Ugh.
Well, because I saw something, I don't know if it's true, but that they were gonna make Maggie and Negan a couple.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. I don't
I
know if
don't
that's
know about
planned
that,
for
guys.
ones that live season 2, but I don't know. It's weird. Speaking of stuff that you could stream, I'm trying to seamlessly transition into these and I don't know. I don't know how I'm doing. So we're looking for something to watch that was a comedy maybe and then stumbled into the rom-com. And this is the idea of you.
Celine, a 40-year-old single mom, begins an unexpected romance with 24-year-old Hayes Campbell, the lead singer of August Moon, the hottest boy band on the planet. Starring Anne Hathaway and Nicholas Galitzine. Directed by Michael Showalter, and it's available on Prime Video.
And Hayes is so Harry Styles coded.
Oh, God.
Like, yeah, this is like this movie feels like fanfic about an older woman hooking up with Harry Styles while he was in One Direction or something. That's what this movie feels like. It also reminds of the Olivia Wilde and Harry Styles romance that ruined Don't Worry Darling. It like derailed that movie to becoming
Yeah, it
the
did.
mediocre mess that it is.
Yeah.
The unfinished movie that it feels like.
It does feel unfinished. I was like, I really liked that movie, so it being objectively bad
Mhm.
was upsetting.
Yeah, when you talk to other people about it, they're like, "Yeah, we didn't like that movie."
Oh.
Collectively, we came together and we decided we didn't like that movie.
We all have to hate that movie?
Yeah. But no, it's hard to though because Flo's in it, and I love Flo. I will
Yeah.
always love Flo. Flo can do no wrong, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Absolutely do no wrong.
straight up, yeah.
And Chris Pine's doing a hell of a job in that movie too.
Mhm.
He's doing his job. He read the assignment and he knew and he came for it. But when the reveal is like clunky
Yeah.
and then there's a whole subplot that is erased from the movie. And then they
Just
claim
don't
that
care about.
there's no deleted scenes. I'm like, "What do you mean there's no deleted scenes?
This is all you
What?
did?
What? There is a complete other thread of story that you do not look into at all. The red plane. They do not do anything about the red plane.
Mm-mm.
Nothing. Spacing on who plays there's another role of one of the other wives that she's slowly losing her mind, and there's one point she's holding the red plane toy standing in the kitchen, and it's a subplot that completely goes nowhere. That's enough of talking about Don't Worry, Darling. I I will tell you that Idea of You is not much better. It's I don't know. A lot of people are enjoying it. It's certified fresh, but I felt it a bit corny and a bit bland. Like it's not going to stick with you. I feel like Anne Hathaway is doing most of the heavy lifting in this one, though. Nicholas Galitzine is really starting to grow on me with this and the show that he does with Julianne Moore called Mary and George. But I don't know, just the story presents its ick pretty quickly because the way that Anne Hathaway's character and Nicholas Galitzin's character meet is because she has to bring her daughter and her friends to Coachella with her because the ex-husband is forced to cancel, so she has to take on the tickets, which includes a meet and greet with this band, right? So she accidentally meets him, and then they of course have this like love at first sight like connection type thing. Not love at
Okay.
first sight, but it is obvious connection. But before that happens, she meets one of the other moms in like the hangout area of the meet and greet. And the mom basically is like, "Oh, my daughter's favorite member of the band is this, but I love this guy. I think he's so delicious, blah blah blah." And it's like presenting the older woman preying on the younger pop star like kind of ick before
Mhm.
actually like going through with it. So I was like wondering how I'm supposed to feel. Like, am I supposed to feel icky that Anne Hathaway is now with this younger pop star?
It
And
kinda it's kind of reminding me of, like, I mean, obviously not to the same degree, but kind of relates to the controversies surrounding Cuties, where it was
oh
like,
yeah,
"Oh,
yeah.
this is deplorable, this is disgusting, but we're gonna show you it in graphic detail."
Mm,
Like,
mhm.
so
Yeah.
what's the message here?
Well, and I mean, it doesn't glorify it. Like I kind of think it shows the the bad shit about it, but
Mhm,
I don't know. I feel like this was all done much better, although much more like a comedy in the movie I reviewed a couple of weeks ago, A Family Affair.
mhm.
But I don't know. I just didn't have a lot for this movie. I got a bunch of television, so let's fly through it. First up is the Decameron.
Set in 1348 during the Black Death, the deadliest pandemic in human history, explores the timely themes of class systems, power struggles, and survival in a time of pandemic. Created by Kathleen Jordan, available on Netflix.
And this is a Black Plague dark comedy from the producers of Orange is the New Black and Weeds. So make what you will of that. It's Genji Koyan is the executive producer on this one, and the showrunner actually made a show for Netflix called Teenage Bounty Hunters, which looked interesting. I just didn't get a chance to check it out. I'm really liking the Decameron though. The biggest actor that I know in it is Tony Hale, who has to be like one of the busiest guys in television. He just seems to be in so much these days, and movies and doing voices everywhere. But I really like him in this. There's a desperate kind of depraved nature to this thing because it's basically a bunch of people during Black Plague era trying to shack up for nobility, like kind of marry up and keep their aristocratic nature still going, and the deplorable natures of what the levels of which they will go to do that. So it's but basically about a bunch of people who aren't good human beings whatsoever, and
Okay.
it's a dynamic that I kind of dig when it's done correctly. So I feel like if people saw that show The Great with Elle Fanning and Nicholas Holt, which is like a period piece show that's a
hmm
bit on the mean side, then you'll like the Decameron, because I feel those shows are very kind of closely linked to each other. Although I say The Great is greater.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to, well, a series adaptation of a movie that I actually just brought to the podcast. This is Time Bandits.
An unlikely alliance forms between a band of thieves and Kevin, an 11-year-old history buff, as they embark on a perilous mission to save Kevin's family and the world. Created for television by Taika Waititi, Jermaine Clement, and Ian Morris, based in part on characters created by Terry Gilliam and Michael Palin. Available on Apple TV Plus.
Kevin, we're saving your family. He has no idea. It's just no
No.
idea. So yeah, I literally just brought the 4K criterion of Time Bandits, the 1981 Terry Gilliam movie, which is like something from like when I was a kid that I was on the rewatch. I was like, I can't believe I watched this as a kid. But it was a movie that made little people heroes. Like you had a band of little people actors, and they were all like heroic. They were all the good guys of this movie. So when Taika Waititi and Jermaine Clement adapted this, for some reason they took the little people out. So the bandits aren't a group of little people. It's like Lisa Kudrow, Charlene Yee, a bunch of other actors. So I don't know. That bums me out. And clearly it bummed Terry Gilliam out because once that was made apparent, he kind of distanced himself from the whole project. But it's because the production company that owned the rights to Time Bandits sold off the rights and Apple picked it up.
hmm
Terry Gilliam wasn't able to buy the own rights to his movie back, so Apple got it. So he has no creative say over the show. But I mean, still, I'm really enjoying the show. It's got like a sweet heart to it because it's Taika Waititi and Jermaine Clement, and I really kind of enjoy their writing, and have for a long time. And of course, they're the guys behind What We Do in the Shadows, which is one of my favorite comedy shows of all time at this point. And
Yeah.
Lisa Kudrow, in my opinion, is the funniest friend of that cast. She's the funniest, in my opinion, consistently. Like most stuff that I see Lisa Kudrow in, I really enjoy. But I think it's inventive. They obviously spent a bunch of money on it, so it looks really great, and I'm enjoying it so far. I'm looking forward to going through the rest of it. And I know there's a lot of haters out there, but it just comes with the territory of remaking any IP. You're going
hmm
to you're going to anger people, and the internet doesn't like Taika right now. I'm still in his camp. I still
Is
enjoy
there a
stuff.
specific reason why? Because I've also
Burnout, maybe?
seen. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, you've seen the same hate that I've seen.
Yeah.
They hated Thor: Love and Thunder, and,
Yeah.
Ragnarok was starting to be the tipping point. They don't like his goofy style, and they I thought everyone really loved Jojo Rabbit. I love Jojo Rabbit, but the internet and the cinematic community really turned on that movie, and I'm not sure why, but I still love it. I'm okay with Taika Waititi playing a wild, zany, imaginary Hitler. I'm okay with that. I thought it was a funny device. I don't know. If that makes me a bad movie watcher, then so be it, I guess. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't get the hate on for Taika right now. I'm still enjoying it, and I can't wait for the final season of What We Do in the Shadows. Like I
Yeah.
can't wait.
For sure.
I'm so excited. I love Colin Robinson so much. We all know a Colin Robinson too. We all know one.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's move on to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder.
Pip Fitzamobi, a brilliant woman, is unsure whether schoolgirl Andy Bell was killed by her lover Sal Singh 5 years ago. How far will they go to protect Pip from learning the truth if Sal Singh turns out not to be the murderer? Starring Emma Myers, created by Poppy Kogan, based on the novel by Holly Jackson, available on Netflix.
And Emma Myers is has her time in the sun right now because Wednesday she plays the roommate on Wednesday, and everybody kind of fell in love with her as like an internet commodity. I think she'd be a great live action Gwen Stacy,
Oh,
like if
yeah.
they're gonna go young. I think she would be really really good. But this looks like a show that is geared maybe for the 13 Reasons Why crowd, like that sort of teen early 20s mystery,
Okay.
a little bit of noir to it. It is a British series, so it has a little. I'll always go back to Skins, but it has a little bit of that filter to it. Maybe not as lewd as Skins was. And Poppy Kogan, who adapted this series, she has another show called Red Rose, which is about it's a horror series. And I mean, when it comes to series, horror is not really a genre that gets touched a lot, but it's a cell phone centric, like The Ring style horror story that I find kind of
Oh,
interesting.
okay.
So I
Yeah,
want
yeah,
to
yeah.
dig this one up. I want to see if I can find this one. I didn't look too deep, but I feel like if it's a British series, it'll
I've
probably
seen
be
that
on like
one.
BritBox or something. Yeah, is it any good?
From what I recall, it's pretty mid.
Okay, okay.
It's
Well,
it's
that
it's
sucks.
okay.
That's me deflating. Boo. But the good thing about A Good Girl's Guide to Murder is it's only 6 episodes long, so it's like one of those BBC like self-contained series. So it really is like kind of a quick binge if you wanted to go through it. And the styling of it, I think, makes it easy, like an easy avenue for a sleeper Netflix hit. So this might become the an old term, but water cooler talked about show
Okay.
over the next 2 or 3 weeks when it comes out. So let's move on to, well, this one kind of surprised me. My Lady Jane.
Lady Jane Grey and her husband Guilford lived during the reign of Edward, son of Henry VIII. She unexpectedly finds herself crowned queen overnight and becomes the target of criminals who want her throne and her head. Created for television by Gemma Burgess, based on the book by Jody Meadows, available on Prime Video.
And this is one of those history fudging shows, because Lady Jane was actually one of the wives of Henry VIII, and he had her beheaded. But this one says, in their own terms, we decided fuck that, and we're going to tell you a different story. So not only are we telling a story of Lady Jane without Henry VIII involved, but we are telling a story of Lady Jane in a world where there is a sect of humans that can turn into animals. Yes, this is a fantasy story at its heart,
With Animorphs?
and I don't know. Yeah, kinda Animorphs. Yeah, I'll say it's Animorphs. It's Animorphs in like a pre-Victorian era.
Okay.
in the Henry VIII era. But Jamie Babbitt is one of the directors on a handful of these episodes, and I'm a big. We were just talking off air about Jamie Babbitt because Jamie Babbitt did a movie we were talking about called The Quiet
Yes.
with Alicia Cuthbert and Camilla Bell, but also did a movie called But I'm a Cheerleader,
Yes.
which is largely a queer awakening film. And it's a part of Jamie Babbitt's career that she kind of commanded for a while. Yeah, is bringing more great television to Prime after doing episodes of League of Their Own with Abby Jacobson. But My Lady Jane's just rough enough and crass enough to keep me interested in like what looked to be like a bodice and bonnets type of like romance series, if that makes sense. Emily Bader, I've never seen her before. She plays Jane in this. She's really, really, really good. It's also got Dominic Cooper, so shout out to Preacher, like such a cool show. And Jim Broadbent, who I really, really like, and Rob Brydon. And Rob Brydon freaking rules. He did the Trip, all the Trip movies with Steve Coogan. He'll always have a place in my heart. And because of that, I'm probably going to end up sending Chloe the Gentleman to Bed part of the Trip, which is some of the improv gold that Rob Brydon's capable of. Also, they use a lot of modern music in this, and usually that kind of stuff in like a period piece will really bug me, but they use it so well that I kind of dig it. They do it in the Decameron as well. And so for two like period piece shows to use like modern music in it, I thought was kind of wild, but I dug both of them. And yeah, I'll be continuing to watch this one for sure. And let's move on to the last one because season 2 is going to be out on for everyone to watch. It is Unstable.
In a biological research company, a son with social problems is forced to work for the company of his father, an extremely eccentric and exotic man, to save him from disaster. Starring John Owen Lowe and Rob Lowe, created by John Owen Lowe, Rob Lowe, and Victor Fresco, available on Netflix.
And so Rob Lowe's basically your Elon Musk type.
Okay.
He plays in this, and yeah, he is completely unstable, constantly ego hurt. Like and but it's Rob Lowe. And honestly, when Rob Lowe does comedy, he rules. He is so damn good. Parks and Recreation, his character Chris is like my favorite on that show. I absolutely love him on that show. And he did a show with Fred Savage for a little bit called The Grinder that I thought was really funny, where he was an actor that played a lawyer on TV, but the show got canceled and he went through a midlife crisis and ended up moving back home to his brother's house, played by Fred Savage, who is a lawyer in real life, and then decides that all of his experience of playing a lawyer on TV means that he could be a lawyer in real life. And it's really, really, really funny. But John Owen Lowe, his son, his real life son, playing his son in this, I mean, obviously the two have been riffing off each other comedically ever since John Owen could probably talk. So their chemistry is phenomenal. But this kid is hilarious. I think he's really, really good. I also think that their press junket for season 2 has had some of the funniest moments that I've seen in this in an interview recently, just because I keep seeing them pop up on TikTok. Um, I do feel like this show is kind of like mid tier when it comes to what Netflix presents, but it's still worth the watch and it doesn't feel like forgettable. Like I am looking forward to season 2 coming out. So I am kind of late to the dynamics of this show, so I am catching up. But as of all television, I feel like I'm always playing catch up. But that's why I put a segment on this called "Now That It's Over." Not that I'm bringing it this week. I have not finished anything this week. But that's it for the streaming stuff. I got a reminder for you. That's right. This week's reminder is a documentary. It's the Bill Shatner documentary, the William Shatner documentary. It's called William Shatner, You Can Call Me Bill, though I don't think any of us normies could call him Bill. I enjoyed the movie. It had a lot more depth to it than I thought it would. I reviewed it on the April 5th episode. It's going way back, a few months back. So it's taken a while to get to Blu-ray, but it's here now. And
But
you watched something before I got the chance to watch it. What did you watch, Chloe?
the movie I saw is called Starve Acre.
An idyllic rural family life of a couple is thrown into turmoil when their son starts acting out of character. Starring Matt Smith and Morfydd Clark. Written and directed by Daniel Cocachello. Written and directed by Daniel Cocachello.
That's probably right.
I fucking hope so.
So that little blurb that you said about the movie, yeah, none of that shit matters.
So it's not a creepy kid movie?
No.
Oh.
I mean,
Well, what
there
the
is
fuck?
one, but it's not
That's not
relevant.
centric to the.
It's not relevant at all past the
Is
first
this
like
like what?
10 minutes of the movie.
Is this like an exit, or is this like a experimental, like kind of flighty out there kind of gothic horror or something?
It's it's very experimental. I mean, it's set in what I think is the 70s. 70s rural Britain. Um but at the same time, it also feels extremely colonial, which
Okay.
is very odd. Not in a
Like
bad
Devil's
way.
Bath colonial?
Yeah, like almost in that regard.
Okay.
Um, and I think it's because we are dealing with elements from colonial times. Matt Smith is just an unlikable weirdo in this. Um, he plays the dad, and this isn't spoiler, it's just kind of like context, but regarding the kid and his strange behaviors, he's like, we just have to love him more. We just have to show him that we care about him, but does none of that. Like does
Nice.
none of it.
Nice. I'll
Um
talk, no follow through.
yeah.
That's good stuff.
And he seems so just uninterested in everything. Like he doesn't
Mind
care.
if I sleep through this?
That's it looks like that's what he's doing. It looks like he's going to sleep. Um And I don't even think we find out what he does for work or anything. Oh, no,
He
we
just
do.
burnt out all of
We do
his.
actually, we do, and it's actually quite a large part of it. I just completely forgot about it because, like everything else in this movie, it doesn't matter. Like the plot changes every 10 minutes.
That's weird.
It's like a completely new thing happening every 10 minutes, or like we'll get revealed something and it's like, "Oh my god." Anyways, let's not talk about that again until like an hour later. So, it like the pacing was just
Damn.
really weird. But I do think that it is worth a watch just because
Okay.
it is kind of fun to just be like, where the hell are they going with this? Um, but yeah,
Yeah, because it's not a
it's okay.
certified at all. I think it's like a 70 something. Well, it was on my list for Matt Smith and Morfydd Clark.
Mhm.
Those are the reasons I wanted to check it out, but it might have gotten a little lower on my list of priorities right
Also,
there.
it's another case of terrible kid acting. It might just be because the
Oh
kid that they
no.
got is so young, but the lines delivered
Mhm.
are very stilted, and you can
Okay.
tell that the child is not very good at acting yet.
He's growing.
Yeah.
Growing boy. Growing into his acting bones. I don't even know. I don't even know. All right, let's get to a taste of next week. That's right. Chloe might be interested in this one. I am a little trepidatious. My Thursday screening is for the film Trap, M. Night Shyamalan's Trap with Josh Hartnett. I think the trailer is stupid. So stupid. I really hate that they have a security guard that's just like, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but here's the exposition for the whole movie. That really bugs me, and makes me feel like M. Night's phoning this one in, even though he's like really excited about it. Well, I mean, obviously this is a new film,
He's
but
excited about
it's
everything he
like
does. He thinks everything
I
he
know
does is, like, the
he's
best thing that he's ever done.
I know. So he's like diabolically happy about Trap. So I'm a little worried. But it's got Josh Hart in it. I really like Josh Hart in it. But I feel like I feel like I've already predicted the twist. I'm not going to give it away here, but I feel like I've already predicted it, and I haven't even seen the fucking movie yet.
I like, as much as I love M. Night, I think he's losing it. Um, I mean, I didn't like Knock. Um,
No, I did, but yeah, but and then it was old before it
yeah, just
with
the
Abby Lee in the cage cracking up
I
in the
just
cave.
like the twists are getting predictable. I mean, I predicted the
Hmm.
entirety of Knock. So,
Hmm.
um I wouldn't be surprised if you were right about your predictions for Trap, just
Yeah.
cuz it seems like it's getting
Yeah.
lazier.
Yeah, pretty much. But I don't know. That's what I got next. So we'll see how I come at it next week. But that is it for this week's episode. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Letterboxd at the Stevel Dead.
You can find me on Letterboxd at HoneyBunChloe.
You can find all the episodes of this show on stevestebbing.ca, as well as the YouTube channel. Just search up Steve Stebbing. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. I'm also on shiftheads.ca, and you can look up Shiftheads on Facebook, and there's over 4,000 members there. I'm also on Shane Hewitt's new radio show in Toronto area, News 1010. I'm on there weekly. I think it works out that I'm on there at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And I believe the podcast gets reshared throughout Canada over the weekend following. And then I'm also on Tremble, the horror podcast with Kurt and Taylor. And I'm also on After the Credits with Marina, Bill, and Melissa. Gotta get all my plugs in. But that is it for this week. We got to fill up our list again because we just emptied it. So until then, see ya.